Greetings, Reclaimers. I am 343 Guilty Spark, monitor of Podcast Evolved. Protocol dictates that you must listen. Come, we have a wealth of knowledge to share with you, and you don't want to make my blue eye red. Do you, Reclaimers?
Welcome, Spartans, to another Halo Book Club episode, part of Podcast Evolved, your home for Halo. I am your host, Krista, and with me today is Aaron.
Hi, guys.
And David.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are going to be talking about the comic Helljumper, a nice short comic featuring Dutch and Romeo from Alpha 9. But before we do that, let me go over some things, because we have things now. So, go ahead and check out our awesome website, halopodcastevolved.com, or just halopodcast.com. It features all of our shows, which includes Podcast Evolved, the main show, which is our weekly show that alternates between lore discussions and the latest on Halo and Xbox news. We also have Mission Debrief, which is on hiatus now, but if you are interested, it is a deep dive into every Halo games campaign, mission by mission. And our newest show, Builds with Blocks, is centered around the micro action figures and brick-based construction sets of the Halo universe. We also have a lovely Patreon page if you'd like to support us. We offer a variety of exclusive rewards to our patrons, like early episodes and swag. I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you!
Hey guys, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
And finally, we encourage our listeners who want to listen to more Halo stuff, or just stuff in general, to support Audible. Listen to the growing collection of all the Halo novels in one place, along with thousands of other novels, podcasts, guided wellness programs, and Audible originals, and more. Use the URL audibletrial.com/podcastevolved to learn more and start your free trial today. That really supports the show, so if you're looking to start up Audible, go ahead and use our link. We'd really, really appreciate it. So let's get into this. This is one of the earlier comics. It is titled Halo Helljumper. The author is Peter David and Eric Njung. Oh gosh.
Nugent.
Eric Njung.
Nailed it.
Did the pencils, inks, and colors, so he did all of the art. I'm sorry, but botched your name. I'm so sorry. The publisher is Marvel Comics, so this is before we got into Dark Horse, so you know it's an early one. It's available on all formats. The release date, issue 1, was July 22nd, 2009. Issue 2 was August 26th, 2009. Issue 3 was September 23rd, 2009. Issue 4 was October 28th, 2009. Issue 5 was November 25th, 2009. And then we have the hardcover collection, which was released March 17th, 2010. And we also have the oversized collection, which was released October 15th, 2013. The length is 120 pages, but remember it is a comic. 120 pages isn't actually that much in a comic. And the summary is, Halo Helljumper is a 5-issue comic book series published by Marvel Comics. It chronicles the story of a squad from the division, the 105th ODST division of the UNSC Marine Shock Troopers. That is quite the name to tell people what you
Nailed
do.
It.
This is my job. I'm in the 105th ODST division of the UNSC Marine Shock Troopers. Okay. The story is centered around Taylor Dutch Miles and Kojo Romeo Aju
Nailed it.
And it happens before the events of Halo 3 ODST, with Romeo serving as the narrator of the story. The timeline is January 8th, 2552. The location is Ariel. Some of her main characters include, of course, Dutch Romeo.
Major Sergeant.
Major Sergeant Frost, which is her first appearance, Gretchen, and The Knowing. Ooh, spooky.
There's other characters, but I think they're the ones that are kind of actually important in the story.
One of them we'll definitely never see ever again, and it's such a shame.
Can we take a moment to appreciate that The Knowing is a great name for a 2010 emo band?
Aw, shit. Maybe that's what he wanted to do. He was collecting stuff about humans so that he could start the perfect emo band, and instead, Romeo told it to kill itself.
Yeah, he went out pretty emo.
He did, yeah. He went out a pretty good way. Just like, okay, kill yourself. And that's it. That's the knowing. Yay. Hello, I am a wealth of knowledge of everything from Forerunners to Precursors to humans to the Covenant. I know everything and I'm here to help you in your quest. Yeah, can you just fucking kill yourself?
There had to be a backup somewhere. Someone had to have saved a backup of The Knowing.
No, it's gone forever. They told it to kill itself and now it's gone forever.
I feel like this is very similar to the thing you see in Escalations with Halsey. What's the thing she's looking? It's like a library, isn't it? Like a repository of knowledge. I feel like there probably is more than one types of this. I've forgotten that this was their objective.
Well, here's the problem. Like, it doesn't matter if we keep coming across these wonderful wealths of knowledge if we keep telling the stuff that has the knowledge to kill itself or destroy it.
It was called the Absolute Record. Sorry, I was
Absolute
racking
Record,
my
that's
brain
right.
there. This is Wikipedia, and the Absolute Record was like Find My iPhone. And together, they gave you everything you needed for the Forerunners.
Oh, that's right. The record was the location of everything, wasn't it? It was, yeah, okay.
And then the knowing would have been all the user manuals. What do we need? How do we do it?
But no, it's all gone now.
All gone now. In terms the story itself is pretty good. Like I do like Dutch and Romeo. They're good characters. They're kind of like complete opposites, but it's good to see them kind of banter with each other.
I always finish the comics and I'm like, I wish I had just more in general. Just more.
Yeah, like I guess the objective or whatever like isn't all that interesting, and it's immediately gone. The MacGuffin, do you know what I mean? But seeing Dutch and Romeo take on crap tons of elites and steal a ship and like all this kind of stuff, I liked all those individual parts, even if like them like duking out in the dig site was kind of cool as well. I enjoyed it. I thought the action sequences were pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting enough. So do we want to just kind of talk about in general what's happening in this story?
We can go over a few bits. I just want to say, as good characters, I don't know if I really like Romeo anymore after doing this, so...
He's not a nice guy.
He's a dick.
He is. And he kills that per grunt really good.
Yeah, that kind of made me sad, actually.
That was a really sad moment.
It gave him a hug.
There's no Geneva Convention for aliens.
No, unfortunately.
There probably is now, but like probably not now. Not then.
Right, the short version of how this starts off is the UNSC get an SOS call from a colony world, Ariel.
Mm-hmm.
They send a ship to investigate with some ODSTs, and then we get Dutch and Romeo and the rest of the team under... Is it Major Frost?
Yes.
Major Sergeant Frost.
Major Sergeant Frost.
Right, they touch down, but we get like the flashback at the start to the attack. So we, like the intro is you've got the team dropping, and then it goes to a flashback of as Romeo tries to remember how it all started, and he's like, no, earlier than this, but you just see a scene where he's like punching, or where
Yeah.
Dutch is punching him in
Yeah.
the face, and you're like, oh, and then it cuts back to this woman running, screaming.
Sorry, it's Master Sergeant, not Major Sergeant.
Master Sergeant. Ah, right. You go back to this scene where there's a woman running, screaming in the rain. She gets to a dropship. She goes to talk to a guy, Charles, and then she realizes Charles is dead, and she's like, oh, gotta move your ass. and she starts to send out a distress signal, and just as she's finishing transmitting, this arm appears out of the ether and like grabs her. The elites of the Covenant are massive in this. I know it's kind of like a, oh yeah, everything's bigger in ODST because you're a bit smaller because you're not a Spartan, but they're so big. Like even the grunts they draw in this later are kind of like at one point huge looking.
I think that's actually accurate because the grunts are actually like 4.5 feet tall, something like that. They're actually quite big, and jackals are about the size of a normal human, like 5'5" ish, 5'8".
It makes like Dutch all the more impressive because like he snapped 2 necks in this comic, which is pretty fucking badass. Thinking about like how difficult that must have been, but it was pretty cool to see him snapping elite necks.
Yeah, those bastards.
He's like the buff tank man in all of this.
I actually really like how they use the elites as shields.
I thought that was really cool. Feel kind of like crazy, like thinking on their feet kind of stuff. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, the comic starts with a lot of like anti-Spartan kind of sentiments, which
yeah,
is
that caught me off guard. Like, this is my first time reading this story properly, and I was like, okay, I kind of get it that other branches don't really like the Spartans, and we've had that since in Silent Storm and other things.
Yeah, it's the same sentiment of like the ODSTs were top tier until the Spartans came along, and they feel a bit shunted about that. And like back when this came out, like that's in all the stories. And about like that era, that timeline of Halo was all about like anti-Spartan stuff in the wider military.
Well, and also Spartans hadn't really proved themselves at that point either. They have, but they were still almost mythical. Like people didn't, like you can tell that they have really no idea what a Spartan is actually capable of. Because they're both saying like, oh, I heard Spartans could do this or that. And they're like, nah, I don't fucking believe that.
Well, there's not enough of them. When you think about like how widespread humanity is, like there's what at this stage, how many Spartan 2s in the 60s, maybe considerably less on active duty, that none of these people would have any real content. It's all rumors, do you know what I mean?
And of course, like Spartan 3s existed, but Spartan 3s are all dead.
They were also like super secret, yeah, when they were created and disposed of pretty secretly.
The one thing I find a little too convenient is that Romeo was friends with one of the ODSTs that got killed by Chief.
It wasn't Romeo, it was the guy he was talking to.
Oh, one of the guys said...
Yeah, it was the random guy that started the fight. He was the guy. He was his friend who died 25 years prior. I mean, that's just a setup just to have that story in there of like, this is why we hate Spartans. Do you know what I mean? At the very beginning.
I feel like that's not specifically why that they hate Spartans, but like...
No, but they use this in the multiple stories. This isn't even the first time that this has been brought up. Like that specific fight. Like someone else had a friend in is it Silent Storm? One of those other guys also had a friend who was one of those guys who got beat up.
Well, it's also like it's the fucking fault of the guy who challenged Chief as well. Like.
See, I got confused in this. I thought it was Dutch. No, it is Dutch that kicks the shit out of him, is it? No, it's the other guy.
No.
And Dutch steps in. I got confused between all the white guys. They're all a bit too buff and square-headed.
Yeah, I had trouble telling everyone apart.
At least the art. Right, will we jump back in where we were?
We'll assume that we can just tie all this back in.
Right, so I got confused there. I thought it was Dutch and Romeo fighting, but...
No, it was random.
It's hard to tell all the buff guys apart. They're all quite square-jawed, no-necked, white.
It gets easier when they get into their armor because Romeo has the distinctive helmet and Dutch is huge and has the kind of off-colored chest piece and like the shark teeth on his visor.
Yeah.
And obviously the comic sets them, the two boys, just being together for the rest of the comic, so it's kind of easier then, you know.
True. Can we take a minute to... I know Miles has brought this up occasionally and I never quite got it till I read these, but can we take a minute to appreciate how good the art is in this compared to some of the issues of escalation we went through where we couldn't tell what was happening?
No, like everything's very clear, everything looks very nice. I think the art's really well done. You can tell that every panel has been really thought about to make sure that they're conveying the right message.
Do you know, to tie it into something relevant at the minute, they look an awful lot like as good as the concept art at the end of the Mandalorian episodes when you get the credits.
Shit, yeah. Ba-dum.
it's that kind of like,
Storyboard?
yeah, storyboard kind of stuff where like not every detail is in there. I said this in our first book club that we did on this years ago, that like it's a very old style of comic, and like it reminds me of like older like it's comics written in the 80s and stuff, where like the characters are detailed but what's around them necessarily isn't.
Yeah.
But it does stand well to this comic, especially when you're like, okay, these guys are fighting off over however hundreds of elites. You're not going to draw that. Do you know what I mean? So like it doesn't, it works itself well for like having the numbers and when you scale up and stuff.
I appreciate the detail in it. So they have a fight, then they deploy onto the planet, they jump out of their pods, they start fighting.
They don't fight because there's nothing there.
Oh, that's right, we land, yes. Sorry, I forgot we have a flashback where Romeo's a bit pissy about Dutch falling for Gretchen, because you get this vibe of he's like, Gretchen is kind of like drawing Dutch away from him.
Yeah, well, that's actually another kind of important character set up. This character of Gretchen, who is, I don't know if they're married yet, but they might be. Gretchen and Dutch are together. And they wear ODSTs. Gretchen stepped on a mine, so she's gone now. She's in like a teaching job. And she wants Dutch to come to her, which he, at the start of this comic, has done. Puts in a transfer, and then like this is quite their last mission together, so that's hinted at a little bit later.
And it's nice to get some backstory on Gretchen because she is mentioned a lot in some of the ODST novels.
She becomes a character.
She does, and like she's very much an off-screen character, but she's mentioned a lot as opposed to us seeing her a lot, because obviously she's a large motivation around Dutch.
Look who just discovered 2 pages in the comic that I have that were stuck together.
Aaron.
I've seen the backstory now. I was been like, there wasn't that much backstory to Here's 2 pages, I've missed that. Right, we'll bounce on a wee bit. They're on the planet, they're looking for, I think they say there should be about 4,000 colonists on this planet, and there doesn't appear to be anyone, so they do the usual, everyone spread out and start checking things, and Dutch and Romeo get the generator room, and there's 2 other red shirts that get the motor pool.
Yeah.
Dutch and Romeo go off and they're scurrying their way down, then they lose contact with the people on the surface, and then they conveniently hear the sound of digging. Frost realises she loses contact and she calls the guys in the motor pool just in time for them to get murdered.
How lovely.
Yeah, she's having like a conversation with one, and then he calls the other guy, and then you see that the other guy's been stabbed. Is this the first, we were talking about this beforehand, the energy cutlass, is this like the first time we see it?
No, because I looked at it, it might have been in terms of the date, but I was looking it up because I saw it and I was like, what the hell, jackals don't have energy swords? This is crazy. I looked it up for this. It's called Energy Cutlass, like you said, but it's actually in Contact Harvest. They talk about the first contact of the guys on the ship that Johnson fights, and Byrne gets stabbed with it. Do you remember? And it blows up like a needle.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Wow, so it's been there for a while.
It has. It's been in canon since one of the first books. We just forgot about it. I just have never seen it really since. I think it'd be a pretty cool weapon to see in a game, like an explosive.
It would be
knife.
amazing. That sounds like so much fun. Another melee weapon might be a good thing to add to Halo anyway.
For sure.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. Like, you're basically just doing a beat down and sticking someone. It would be interesting.
With a sticky, yeah.
We go back to Dutch and Romeo. They've lost contact with the surface. They're in the generator room. They spot the Covenant, and then they go to flee, and the Covenant cut them off. They end up fighting 2 elites, and there's like a whole scuffle on a platform. They can't get off over the surface. The generator's about to explode, and they use the 2 elite corpses as human shields. Well, elite shields.
Meat shields.
Meat shields, that's the word. And you like get a good sense of scale that they can hide safely behind an elite because an elite's much bigger.
That makes sense. It's cool that it's a cool image of just their bodies getting like vaporized.
And then, of course, this is when Romeo decides to, spill the beans.
Other way around. Dutch says it to Romeo.
I'm going for a transfer.
Yeah, he thinks they're going to die. He's like, I've agreed to transfer and I'm leaving. There's the big explosion, and the rest of the ODSTs have evacuated because they're afraid of being taken out. When we get back to this, the other ODSTs are moving towards the second settlement. Dutch and Romeo like shimmy their way out, and they go up a mountain to look for the rest of the team, they spot them, and then they spot this big sort of collection of Covenant gathering. They're like, oh, there's a couple of thousand Covenant here, we need to do something. They get ambushed by a couple of grunts, they kill the grunts, and then they tape plasma grenades into a fissure in the mountain and shoot them as an explosion. I like that they say they don't know how to activate the timer on the plasma grenades yet.
Yeah. They haven't figured
This
it
button
out.
could just be like a big, self-destruct button, so we just throw them, which I thought was cool, because at one point later in it, they chuck a grenade and it freaks out some grunts and they panic and run, but the grenade isn't active because they don't know how to trigger it, so they've just thrown a dead grenade, but it did the job.
Yeah, and then the grunts freak out and run into a booby trap.
So they take out a good chunk of the reinforcements and then they run, and some more get taken out in the booby traps, and then they find a Phantom on the ground, so they take out the crew of the Phantom and board it.
I think their takeover was pretty cool, where they were one trying to hide behind the elite or do something with the elite body, and he's like, this isn't gonna work. So Romeo ties a gun to the dead grunt and then ties 2 pistols to that grunt and then uses it as to like a puppet, and then moves Dutch in front of him and then goes towards the grunts like he's been captured. Obviously fools the grunts for long enough, and then he does this weird Matrix double gun dual pistol, kills all these grunts in all these headshots. It's a dope scene. It's really, really cool.
What does he say? He shoots the last grunt in the head just as the first body hits the ground.
Yeah,
That seems like a lot.
it's cool. It's really well done, because one of the pieces of trivia I kind of noticed is that Romeo's supposed to be a sniper. He never touches a sniper rifle, but he does one insane display of accuracy. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, they kill all them. They get in the Phantom. They accidentally trigger the weapons in the Phantom and mow down the elites that were following them. And then they take off and try to head towards the second settlement. Get hit by a fuel rod cannon, which in the history of Halo has never damaged a Phantom enough to cause it to crash. I've tried.
Yeah, I guess it does in this conveniently.
Yeah, they fly the Phantom towards the second colony, or the second outpost. On the way there, now that they're damaged, at the last minute they veer over onto the colony and splatter a load of Covenant reinforcements. They jump out at the last second through a skylight of a building, murder some grunts that they basically fall on top of, and then find some of the colonists, and then they tell them, oh, they're taking the rest of us to dig somewhere underneath the settlement. They go down this whole construction site, take out some of the Covenant, free the civilians that have been taken down there, and then it's Romeo says, no, we have to go and investigate.
No, it's Dutch.
The other way around.
I get them so confused. I was really bad at keeping... I know they look completely different, but for some reason I just couldn't figure out who was talking. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention.
Pay attention, Krista.
I'm the same sometimes, I get the same way. So they have to go down, they have to find out what the Covenant are doing. They go all the way down there, and then they're introduced to the Knowing. Well, sorry, they interrogate a grunt.
Yeah, there's a pretty dark grunt interrogation scene where they interrogate his grunt with yes or no answers to figure out what you're looking for that you're digging. And then Romeo's yeah, we'll let you go. And he runs away. He hugs Dutch. And then yeah,
so
I get to
cute.
away. And he runs away going, yes! And then, Romeo just kills him with a headshot and he goes, no! As his brains get splattered.
It's so sad. Also, the grunt blood is green.
Yes, that's the other piece of trivia, is that the blood should be blue and not green. In this comic has which is weird. But whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Then we get to the dig site where they meet the people and they rescue. Or is it the crash? When they crash with the thing, they kind of bump into everybody.
They crash, they find the first load of people, they basically free them and tell them to wait for the reinforcements. Then they go down into the tunnels and they find a second group of people and they take out the elite escort and free them and then send them back up the tunnel. And then they're like, right, we have to go on and see what they want, because if the Covenant are here and the Covenant want it, then we need it. And then they get all the way down there and they meet the Knowing. and they have like a quick introduction, and then it suddenly dawns on them what the knowing is.
Well, he pretty much tells them what I am.
He does tell them. They kind of have this moment where they go, oh fuck.
Yeah, and then they kill it, and it kills itself.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
They just go straight for asset denial, like, instantly.
Which, to be fair, I think makes sense when you realise what it could have taught the Covenant.
Yeah, I guess they had no real idea what it really was, too. They're definitely not Forerunner experts.
No, but they had a pretty good idea that this thing, like, knew everything, or knew a lot of stuff, and it was enough of a danger. They knew they weren't going to be able to take it out of the area, like they wouldn't be able to take it from the Covenant, so it's like we destroy it or we let the Covenant have it. Although the Covenant have a very poor history of listening to oracles, so...
Yeah, they have a very selective hearing when it comes to oracles.
You hear what they want to hear. They twist everything.
Yeah, this oracle would have absolutely like ended the Covenant by telling them the truth, and they wouldn't have wanted that anyway.
Yeah, they would have been pissed.
If anything, Dutch and Romeo saved the Covenant for a while.
Just a tiny bit. Not long.
Weird fun fact. So they basically are like, yeah, you need to kill yourself. And it's like, okay.
It seems so, like, inconvenienced by it. It's not like a horrific thing. It's just like, that's inconvenient, but okay.
But, like, it, like, actually agrees with them. It's like, yeah, in your situation, that's a good choice.
Bye.
Because the Covenant will get me, and it's just fine, and then they run, and it blows up. And that's pretty much the end, really, isn't it? That, like, he heard Romeo, or Dutch has to, like, carry him out before the thing blows up.
Well, they decide to stay as a team, like, afterwards.
Dutch decides he'd stay.
Yeah, he hurts his ankle, he's sick. They have a conversation, they're like, oh, I put in transfer orders to join you. And he's like, oh, well, I cancelled my transfer orders to stay here with you. And they're like, right, we'll settle this with rock, paper, scissors.
I thought that was kind of cool.
That's how all important life things should be decided, with rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, definitely. Like, hey, do you want to, like, get married? And then you do rock, paper, scissors to decide.
I thought it was fun. Like a good little ending to it.
Yeah, I thought it was cute.
So, thoughts overall?
It's okay.
It's okay. There are specific moments in it that I liked. I think if you didn't care about, like, Romeo and Dutch, it's kind of pointless. This kind of, like, nothing really comes out of it. Do you know what I mean? It is like pure backstory for these two characters.
That's kind of the problem with all the comics, is they can never really affect the universe that much, so they always feel like they end where they started.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how this ends. The only difference is Dutch and Romeo are better friends, but we didn't accomplish anything from this. Humanity are no further along, really.
It's a fun, like, little story, but it just like, okay, that happened. Moving on.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the art. I think there's a lot of beautiful panels in this. There's a lot of nice drawings. It's nice and crisp and clear. You, at no point are you ever looking at a picture going, what the fuck is this?
It's just a mess. You're like, what the...
If you look at all of these, you can look at them and go, that's an ODST. He's murdering that grunt. You're not trying to, like, figure it out. It's not modern art.
No, it's very cut and clear, and they do a lot with the limitations of that medium has with conveying, you know, what's going on.
So I don't think it's pretty good. As I said, it doesn't really make me like Romeo a huge amount more. I still think he's a bit of an ass.
I mean, not as much of an ass as Mickey.
Spoilers, Krista, spoilers.
I didn't say anything. I said he was an ass.
Haven't got that far yet.
Oh.
I like him.
I know you've read that book, Aaron.
No, I definitely haven't.
Aaron, I'm pretty sure you were on the book club.
Maybe I did a David.
Oh my god, you faked it?
I could
David's
have.
so good at faking things. We better tell his fiance.
Hey, let's let that talk.
Don't insult the poor man's honor.
Read the outro, Krista, goddammit.
Now that I've ended it on an angry note.
Yeah.
Alright, thank you for joining us. You can find every episode of all of our shows on our website, HaloPodcastEvolved.com, or just Halo Podcast. The RSS feed only lets us upload like 100 episodes at a time, so you're not going to be able to go go back and listen to the entire archive without visiting our lovely website. Our website also features links to our Discord server, Facebook group, Patreon page, Xbox Live Club, and other contact information for some of your favorite hosts like me. If you want to leave us a voicemail about this episode, a previous episode, or about anything Halo related, please don't tell us about the weather. You can give us a call at 205-EVOLVED. That is 205-386-5833. And with that, I have been your host, Krista, and until next time, evolved.
Evolved.